we look up to, or who do we try to imitate? Maybe it's a famous person, like on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, or somebody closer to us, like a brother or sister, parent, or a grandparent. Today's blessed is someone that I know I want to imitate, and I hope you do too. Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati was born in 1901 in Italy and came from a wealthy family, as his father was the editor of one of the most important newspapers in Italy. Like Blessed Carlo Acutis, he did not come from a religious family, which goes to show that even a non-religious family can produce a saint through God's help. What was amazing is that from an early age, Pier Giorgio loved Mass and what is called Eucharistic adoration. As I spoke about in our video on Blessed Carlo Acutis, we believe that what looks like bread and wine, through the power of God, becomes Him, not a symbol. Eucharistic adoration is a way to pray before Jesus present in the Eucharist. He is placed in a beautiful gold object called a monstrance so we can see Him and spend time being with the one who loves us the most. Here is a photo of what this looks like. Pier Giorgio would wander off for hours to visit Jesus at church. This is because he had developed a strong connection with Him. He was not doing this to fulfill an obligation or because his parents told him to, but because he loves Jesus. Think about how we love spending time with our best friend. No one has to tell us to hang out, laugh, or do fun things together. We are just drawn to being together. This is what Jesus wants to have with you and me. Besides having a strong connection with Jesus, he was a super cool guy. He was handsome, popular, a wonderful athlete, swimmer, mountain climber, skier, horseback rider, and drove a car. He loved music and to sing, though he had a bad voice. He went to parties, but he would never get drunk. He would only have a glass of wine. He would not listen to inappropriate jokes. Check out these photos of him to see what I mean. I heard a priest remark that, quote, he was one of them, meaning his friends, but separate from them, unquote. How can we be among our friends, but be an example of how Jesus wants us to live among them? If he was going on a ski trip over the weekend, he would pay to have a priest come, otherwise he would not go. The priest would celebrate Mass outdoors for them. Why do you think that he was so dedicated to being able to connect with Jesus in this kind of way? His friends would often not go to Mass because of the invitation of their parents or the priests, but because of Pier Giorgio's invitation, they would go to Mass. Know that you have the ability to be a witness to Jesus to your friends in a way unlike anyone else. You can tell a friend that you're praying for them when they're going through a difficult time. Or you can invite a friend to come to Mass with you and experience the beauty of our new church. Pier Giorgio naturally incorporated his faith into activities with his friends. For instance, when they would be hiking and get to the top of a mountain and they were resting, he would say, "Let's pray a rosary," or a few psalms from a prayer book together. This was not done in a forceful way, but in a way that his life was such that others were attracted by him and they wanted to follow him, and he follows Jesus. He had a passion for the poor and vulnerable. He would donate the money that he received from his parents, as well as give of his time generously. On his 18th birthday, he received a car from his dad, and he turned around and sold it. Can you imagine that? He gave half of the money to the St. Vincent de Paul Society, of which he was a member. This society serves the poor and can be found at many parishes today. He gave the other half to families in need. By the age of 21, he was assisting over 125 families with rent, food, clothing, and tuition for their children. He would travel hundreds of miles each year. And he actually did this anonymously under the name Brother Jerome, as his family was so well known and he didn't want the attention. He also wanted to make sure that these families had their spiritual needs met as well, so that they received the sacraments of initiation, baptism, First Holy Communion, and confirmation. He would be their sponsor and encourage them to attend Mass. At the same time, his life was not always easy. His parents' marriage was sadly falling apart. His father would only speak at dinner through getting very angry, and his mother would often retreat to spending time painting by herself. They were considering divorcing, which no one did at that time. As you will see, prophetically, Pier Giorgio said he'd be willing to die if it meant that his parents' marriage would be saved. Eventually, he got polio, a serious disease from the poor that he served. He had asked a maid for an aspirin, which was the first time he asked for medicine, so she knew that things were serious. He collapsed multiple times, trying to make it to the room of his grandmother, who had died, but his family had been so focused on the wake and funeral that they weren't paying attention to him. Only 2 days before he passed, his family finally recognized the extent of his illness. It overtook him so quickly that he died at the age of 24 on July 4th, 1925. At his funeral, his parents and family were totally surprised as they saw streams of the poor rather than just their friends. There were 10,000 people there, including 500 of his university friends. When his parents saw how many people were at his funeral, they stayed married, had a conversion to Jesus, and worked with the church process of their son being declared a saint. What can we learn from Pier Giorgio? That we can do a lot of cool stuff and still live for Jesus. That we can enjoy spending time with Jesus, our closest friend, at Mass and in prayer. That we can be an example of our friends and invite them to come closer to Jesus. That we can dedicate ourselves to serving those in need, whether among our family, friends, or through organizations. Until next time, don't forget to rest a while with Jesus.